On this episode of the Podcasting Tools Show, I'm going to talk about Woocommerce as a method to monetize your podcast. Woocommerce is a great tool for e-commerce, for selling virtually anything. Let's look at how it works. Hey folks, it's Colin Gray here from thepodcasthost.com, bringing you another Podcasting Tools Show in slightly strange circumstances. I won't dwell on it, of course. I'm sure you are all experiencing the exact same thing. I'm recording at home today, trying to look after the kids at the same time, so maybe slightly lower fi than usual, but trying to keep some sense of normalcy. So I thought I'd try and get a Podcasting Tools episode out to you. And this time around, we're going to talk about a monetization tool, so one called Woocommerce. Now, to give you the broad level, Woocommerce is a tool. It's a plugin for WordPress. It's an e-commerce plugin, which basically means you can set up a shop on any WordPress website. So you can sell products of many different types. And I'm going to go into all the different types of products you can sell, how you might use that for a podcast over the next 10 minutes. But that's just to give you the big picture. If you run a website with your podcast on it, if it's a WordPress website, this is something that can work for you. And if you don't do that, I would argue it is a worthwhile thing to do, to set up a WordPress website for your podcast. If you want to know how to do that, we've got a full guide on the Podcast Host. It's at thepodcasthost.com/website. And that'll show you how to set up a WordPress website really simply and how to add tools to it to turn it into a podcasting delivering tool. So how to put a podcast onto a WordPress website. And I'll also create a new page related to this episode because I want to go into a bunch of different things around WooCommerce. So I'm going to give you some tutorials there as well. So if you want to see some videos around how WooCommerce works, a wee demo of a WooCommerce store, maybe even something around how we use WooCommerce with the Academy, then you can pop over there. It'll be at thepodcasthost.com/WooCommerce, and you'll find it there. So let's get into it. How does WooCommerce work? Well, to start with, it's run by the team Automatic, which is the team that runs WordPress as well. So it actually comes from the WordPress makers. So it's a good badge of quality, good badge of what how reliable it is, how well updated it is. So it's a really good tool. It's kind of a standard WordPress approach. Now, what can it sell? Here's a few things. So let's get into how you might use WooCommerce as a podcaster in particular. So you might use it initially just the way a lot of other people use WooCommerce, which is to sell physical goods, like merchandise. So many podcasts out there have a good, loyal audience that really love to follow along. And as a result, they love to, show their support for that show. And that can come in the form of t-shirts. You can sell t-shirts that have the podcast logo on it, or slogans from the podcast, or sayings, or whatever it might be. That can work really well. Or mugs, or mouse mats, or beer mats, or, there's all sorts of different things. Badges and stickers always go down really well. So at a basic level, you could set up a WooCommerce store to sell those physical products. People could go in there, they can buy the t-shirts, the mugs, all that kind of stuff. So that's one thing you can do. Next, and probably more relevant to a lot of podcasters, is digital products. So WooCommerce can help you sell digital products in a really easy way. You can create a simple product in WooCommerce and you can attach a download to that product. So that means then that whenever a user goes to your WooCommerce site, go to your main site, they find the product on WooCommerce, they buy that product, they pay their $5, $2, even $1, they get a download automatically. So straight away they're offered the download for the thing that they just bought. Now this means, of course, that you can automate this. You don't have to be involved at all. People hit your website, they make a payment, they get the product automatically. You are not involved. It's not work for you. Okay. Examples of that kind of thing that I've seen people do is just something like an ebook. So maybe there's an ebook you can create related to your content, a guide, more detail on how to do something start to finish around the topic that you cover on your podcast. Maybe it's writing that goes along with it. If you're more an entertainment podcast, Matthew, that works here at the Podcast Host, he runs a show called A Scottish Podcast. It's an audio drama. So the audio drama, he writes the scripts for that. It's all stories going on every single week. He writes books to go along with that, or stories, I should say, to go along with that. People who are fans of the show they get the podcast automatically, but then they can go to his website and they can buy these stories, and it gives them more stories around the characters they know and love. So creative approaches like that can help you create digital products that you can then sell for a few dollars or even more if it's something really valuable. Finally, the podcast itself. I've seen people use Woocommerce to sell part of their back catalogue. You know, especially if you're an entertainment show and people are likely to go back and listen to really old episodes, or even teaching shows, motivation shows, you can package up packs of your episodes. Maybe season 1, take your season 1, package it up, take it off your main feed and sell that for $5, $10. It's a way of people to support your show. A show that I used to listen to a lot called Movies You Should See. They reviewed a different movie every week. The team, it was just really good chemistry. It was a really entertaining show to listen to. I bought a few of their old packages. They had 300 episodes or something by the time I started listening. I went back and bought like episodes 1 to 10 for $5 because I wanted to get more. I knew they'd reviewed some classic movies that I really liked and I wanted to hear their thoughts on it. So I was happy to pay for that back catalogue. You can attach a zip file with those episodes to a digital product in WooCommerce. So you can sell lots of simple products like that in a digital form, all delivered automatically. Another way, and this is one way that we use WooCommerce, is subscriptions. So you can offer a type of a Patreon type approach, whereby you get people to sign up for a few dollars a month, maybe even 10, 20, 30. They sign up and that recurring billing comes out every single month. Okay, they keep paying as long as they want to stay a member. For that, you can manage, benefits manually. Maybe you just shout out the people that are still subscribing, or maybe you email them. So you can quite easily, using other WooCommerce plugins, you can quite easily email all of your active subscribers. So maybe you send them advanced copies of the show, advanced news, maybe some behind the scenes stuff. There's all sorts of things you can offer people through subscription. Just a simple subscription. As long as you can see who's active, you can make sure they're getting what they're due. You can automate a little bit of that as well with another plugin called WooCommerce Memberships. So WooCommerce Subscriptions is one plugin that you pay for WooCommerce. Just to clarify, WooCommerce itself is entirely free. So the standard package WooCommerce, which will let you sell physical products and let you sell simple digital products, that is entirely free. You can add that to your WordPress site for no cost at all. But a lot of the extra functionality, you can buy plugins, which cost anything from $20, $30 up to maybe a couple of $100. They add a lot of extra functionality. Now the subscriptions and the memberships plugin, they cost a little extra. They're, I think last time I looked, about $150 in total. So I use both subscriptions and memberships, and I think I pay about $200 between them. But anyway, the memberships adds on top of subscriptions, it adds the ability to create a place on your website that only subscribers and members can access. Okay, so they pay the subscription, they're then associated with a membership, and that membership lets them access private pages on your website. So that's where you could put things like members only content. Maybe again, that back catalogue, maybe the ebooks, the writing, that kind of stuff. You could put that all inside a membership. Or you could have a community in there. You could set up a forum and have that behind a membership. So there's lots of different things you can put in there that members can access. So you can sell that subscription. It's a really nice way to support a podcast because people can pay just, a few dollars a month, get these benefits and support the content that they love. And it's proven that this kind of thing works, obviously, through things like Patreon. Patreon does really well for podcasters that have a loyal audience. A final one I'll mention, getting towards the end of the show here, is events. Okay, there is a plugin for WooCommerce called Woocommerce Events. A couple of things with this. So first of all, it lets you run a system just like Calendly or Schedule Once or Book Like a Boss. Okay, if you want to see how I use Book Like a Boss to book interviews to make it all really easy, go to thepodcasthost.com/book like a boss. And I'll show you how to run interviews in a much more easy way, using these scheduling tools. It means people can pop onto your website, they can pick a time that suits them, they can schedule that, it pops a date in your diary and their diary, checks that you're free, all that stuff. All that scheduling stuff, you can run that actually directly from WooCommerce and offer those slots for free. But the really special thing is here, with WooCommerce, you can also charge for them. So it might be that you run consulting sessions. 30 minutes or an hour where you talk to fans of your show and help them with their business or their hobby or whatever it is that you talk about. You can set that up so that they can pay $20, $50, $100 or whatever for your time one-to-one. You can also set up wider classes like tutorials and lessons. You can offer up 20 spots for an hour where you're going to run a lesson and work with a small group of people, and people can book into that and pay for that as well. You might even do this for an entertainment show in the form of something like a private taping. So maybe you're going to record the show, takes you 20, 30 minutes, and you sell 50 audience spots. This is your live audience for the show. And your big fans will love to be in live. And maybe you even you use a tool which allows you to interact with them. You do it on Facebook or Zoom or something like that. So you can talk to them and they're involved in the show. And people, big fans of your show, will happily pay for that kind of entertainment, $10 or something to be in there for an hour and get to interact with you and all that. People will pay that happily to support the work you do. So you can do that as well. So that's physical products, merchandise. You've got digital products like ebooks and your back catalogue. You've got subscriptions and memberships where you can actually have people support you long term. And you've got events. So that's all the ways you can use something like WooCommerce. Just to quickly run you through a little bit about how WooCommerce works. Just do this very quickly, a couple of minutes. You install WooCommerce as a plugin. The basic plugin, like I said, is free. You can take it straight from the WordPress plugin store. You install it, and then all you have to do is set up a few things. You set up your basic details like your address, your currency. It's really international, actually. So if you're in the US, the UK, Australia, anywhere around the world, you can set it to your currency, to your location, all that stuff. That's all fine. Then you go ahead and set up your products. They're really easy. Each product just nearly needs a title, a description, a price, and some artwork if you can. And WooCommerce actually handles all of the other stuff around that. So it then creates you a catalogue. You've got a shop front where it shows all the products, all the prices. It handles the cart, the checkout, all that stuff. And the final part of that is obviously setting up your payment method. Now it works really well with something like Stripe or PayPal. I'm sure you've all used PayPal over the years. You can set it up with a PayPal account, no problem at all. And Stripe as well lets you take normal debit and credit cards. And actually setting up a Stripe account is really simple and easy these days as well. So taking payments is actually really easy. It's surprisingly simple, given that, handling money, you'd expect it to be complicated, but it's actually totally fine. Even with stuff like if you're thinking of it as a business, it handles things like VAT, it handles taxes. You can set it up so that it'll do all that for you. Like we're in the EU, for example, we have to handle VAT for, people that buy in France have to pay French VAT. People that buy in Germany have to pay German VAT. UK the same. Or if you're from the US buying from us, we don't charge any VAT. So it needs to calculate all that. And WooCommerce has tools which lets you detect where people are, set up the currency the right way, set up the VAT, the tax the right way, and charge people accordingly. So it makes it all nice and simple for that. And that's about it. That is how WooCommerce works. I hope that's given you an idea of how you might use it. Please do pop over to thepodcasthost.com/WooCommerce for far more information about this. Obviously, it's a wee bit technical. There's probably a few tutorials you'd like to see about how you set it up, how it works, maybe some links to different ways of monetizing. So, for example, I've got links there for how to create merchandise, links there for how to create back catalogs of your podcast, how to do premium podcasting, all that kind of stuff. I've got loads of stuff on that page on how you can use WooCommerce, how you set up WooCommerce, how you can use it, the different types of products you can sell, and then linking off to other areas to tell you about the types of products that you might want to create to put onto WooCommerce. So do pop over to thepodcasthost.com/WooCommerce. And just in case, it's spelled WOOCOMMERCE. Final one as well, thepodcasthost.com/website if you want to see how to set up WordPress in the first place. That shows you all about hosting, setting up WordPress, which is another thing that's surprisingly easy. All right, thank you very much. I hope everyone out there is safe and well. Everyone's a bit weird right now, but trying to get on and keep putting out some decent content to help you guys with your podcasting. We're certainly seeing a lot of interest in podcasting right now, I think, because there's a lot of people at home, a lot of people still trying to communicate, still trying to get their message out there, even though they can't get to events, they can't get out and talk to people. So I hope this stuff genuinely does help. If you are new to remote working, I'll just add this in. Don't usually do it on the show, but we put out a recent article about how to use podcasting as part of our remote team. If you go to thepodcasthost.com, you'll see it. If you click blog top right, you see all our recent articles, and you'll be able to scroll through and you'll see our remote working article there. So if you're trying to put out a private podcast for your team, for example, something like that, then there's an article there, and that's got a lot of interest because there's so many teams having to go remote right now. But let's leave it at that for now. I'm hoping to start getting these out again weekly, so look out for another one next Friday. Looking at probably doing seriously simple podcasting as a tool to run a podcast on your WordPress website. So hopefully talk to you then. Otherwise, get in touch at The Podcast Host on Twitter if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you next time.